Welcome to Introduction to Computer Programming Concepts via Python. My name is Anand and I'll be the instructor to this course. A little bit about the course itself. This course is for absolute beginners. A lot of focus on why, the reason for certain things are done in the way it is done. So a lot of focus on the reasoning part of the programming. Almost all the concepts we are going to learn in this course is language agnostic, which means that it is not just applicable to Python, but for all programming languages. But we will be using Python as a programming language here. On the way, you will learn Python as well, along with the programming concepts as well. This is the targeted audience for this course. As I mentioned, it is for absolute beginners. There is a good to have prerequisite course from myself. We will be discussing it shortly, but it is not a requirement. It is just good to have. So what we're going to do next is we're going to summarize this particular course, Ultimate Beginner's Course for Computer Science. That is a course from myself, which is there in Udemy. You can purchase and watch it, but that is not required. So what we are going to do next is we're going to review that course, the main points of that course, so that we will put things into perspective and we'll understand why we need a programming language. Now let's get into the blackboard and draw a couple of diagrams to understand certain concepts. The single most important part of a computer is its CPU, and CPU is connected to something called computer memory. So this is the computer memory. So they exchange data between them, computer memory. Also, another most important part of a computer is the disk. Disk is also a type of memory, and the difference between this primary memory, this is also called primary memory or RAM. The difference between the RAM and disk is that when the computer turns off, this memory vanishes. The data inside the primary memory vanishes, while the disk retains. If you turn off your computer, the memory inside disk will stay. So that is the difference between primary memory and secondary memory or disk. So this is called secondary memory. The disk is very slow compared to the primary memory. Primary memory is very fast. And CPU is doing all the calculations, all the instructions. So CPU is to do all the calculations. All the task is done by CPU. While these are the main parts of a computer, it has a lot of other parts like different devices. The keyboard, then the mouse, which we normally use to interact, then graphics card for playing games. Graphics card will be connected to a monitor or touch display devices. So everything is connected to the CPU directly or indirectly. Then the network card, where we connect to different network devices. So along with this, we can have any number of devices: camera, touch screen, printer, scanner, anything. They can be USB devices, non-USB devices, different ways to connect to a computer. This whole thing sits inside a board called motherboard. So we have discussed that in that particular course. Motherboard is the circuit board which connects all these devices. We have seen that this is true for normal laptops, mobile phones, desktop computer, and more. These whole things are called computer hardware. I'm going to call CH here, or computer hardware. The whole CPU, memory, disk, keyboard, mouse, every device you can think of is part of the hardware. So one thing we discussed in the course was the computer hardware is like a clay. It doesn't do anything. It can't do anything without software or instructions. So instructions are commands to the CPU. So the computer hardware needs software to perform any action. So we have seen assembly instructions to program the CPU. So the problem with that was the assembly language was very complicated. We needed a lot of assembly instructions to achieve simple applications. Simple things we did with a lot of effort, a lot of instruction, and it was getting complicated. That was the chapter 3 of the course which we are reviewing right now. So that is where the programming languages come into picture. Now let's go back to the slides. So in summary, computer hardware is like a clay, like I mentioned. It has to be molded with the help of software or instructions into useful things, like we see the application to edit images or text or ChatGPT, whatever you see in this world, in the computing. It's all software working on different types of hardwares. So all are instructions. We have seen computer hardware is nothing but CPU, memory, and disk along with all the supporting devices. CPU is nothing but an electronic chip, and it understands only binary numbers as instructions, input or instructions. CPU can perform only simple operation, addition, subtraction. So this is fourth point is very important. CPU can do only very simple operations. In that course, we have seen how we can do complex operations using simple operations. So that was one of the highlights of the course. But the problem is there is too many of this simple operation we need to perform a complex operation. So the fifth point here is the purpose of this whole course. The CPU machine code or the binary numbers is very difficult for humans to understand. Even to create such instruction in assembly language is very difficult for humans. That is where the programming language comes into the picture. Like Python, C, C++, all programming languages are for one purpose: to make our life easier to program or instruct the CPU to do something. That is a single purpose of programming languages. In that course, we have also seen about operating system. We studied about operating system. Operating system is a software again. It is nothing but instructions written in a programming language like Python or C or C++. And it is a complex piece of software which abstracts the complexity of a lot of hardware and gives us a very user-friendly interface. So we need an operating system to run a programming language like Python. So operating system abstracts the complexity of computer hardware, which is nothing but CPU, motherboard, memory, and different types of devices. Examples of operating system are Linux, Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and more. There are a lot more other operating systems. So operating system has some default capabilities. For example, in Windows, you can edit text using Notepad. Notepad is a program which comes with the operating system. VI in Linux, it is normally comes with the operating system, although it's not part of the operating system. A lot of things operating system can do default. Now, what if something operating system cannot do, like advanced text editing or advanced image editing or artificial intelligence, anything like that? So that is where programming language comes into the picture. So anything which operating system cannot do, the default software which is installed on a computer hardware, that is the operating system. Anything which it cannot do should be done using additional programs written by a programming language. Basically, we are extending the operating system functionality to instruct the CPU using a programming language like Python. So fourth point we have discussed already. Ultimately, any program should be binary machine code. That is the only thing CPU understands, which CPU understand, which is very difficult for human to write. So machine code is the ones and zeros. That is the only thing CPU understands. In fact, almost all the devices we discussed also only understands binary machine code. But we don't understand. We understand English. We understand numbers, normal numbers, the decimal numbers. We don't understand binary numbers. That is where the programming language comes. Programming language make this one particular task easy.